Hello everyone, my name is Jeffrey and welcome back to episode 45 of my Satisfactory Let's Play series. In this video it's time for floor number 2 of the new Mega Factory. Today we tackle the basic copper and quartz production with a couple hundred more machines. These floors are turning out really cool so far with a lot of opportunity for fun decorations. Setting ourselves up with an unloading floor at the bottom will handle everything we need coming in through the trains. Thank you for all the support and help with the series so far. Let's get to playing games. Alright, floor number 2. It's going to be the quartz and copper floor. And we also have to do a quartz cave train. So I'm actually going to try doing my first push-pull train. Basically it's going to go into the cave, pick stuff up, come back out of the cave, drop it off, and it's going to go to another train that's going to take it to the factory. So not the most efficient thing in the world, but I think it'll look pretty cool. Now, I appreciate you guys coming back for another episode, and I think this will be a fun one. It may be a little shorter, but I think going forward, most of the episodes are probably going to be a little bit shorter, maybe in the in between 20 and 40 minutes for the most part, because guess what? I got a job finally. Hooray.
Yes! That's awesome!
Now, that definitely means I have a little bit less time to dedicate to making these videos for you guys, but I want to still make sure that they're a lot of fun and good to watch, so I think I'll just end up making them a little bit shorter than they usually were. But, without further ado, let's head on over back to the factory, and let's get started on the quartz and copper floor. It's going to be a pretty good one. We have a few hundred machines to play, a couple hundred machines, something like that. A lot of constructors. We are going to be using blueprints, absolutely, and maybe even making some new blueprints. I think actually we have everything ready to go. So we're doing copper ingots, we're doing wire, we're doing cable, and I don't know if I have constructors set up for quartz crystals, but I mean we can always just set those really quick anyway, so I'll meet you guys over there. Alright, I am here back at the factory. We are on the first floor that we finished last time. This was all about the iron stuff, so we got our iron smelters, just as a recap. We've got our rod constructors, we got our screw constructors. God, what a pain that was. Just kidding, it was actually the easiest screws I've ever made in my life. We've got plates over here, and we've got our reinforced iron plates over here. So that was our first floor all finished, and then we can go ahead and head on up to our second floor now, which is going to be the quartz and copper floor.
Any self-respecting factory needs an elevator.
That was so loud, I was not expecting that in the slightest. And then above this, we are going to be doing the Crystal Oscillator floor. It's going to have 80 manufacturers on one floor. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be a really cool floor, though, I promise. And then above that is going to be the oil refinement floor. So that's basically the episode we're going to be tackling after this, because putting down all the Crystal Oscillators, honestly, the Crystal Oscillator manufacturers shouldn't take me actually that long, because I'm going to make some blueprints for it. And then beyond that, we can then just jump into the oil refinement floor, because that's just going to be a bunch of refineries, and that'll be episode 3. So, welcome to the quartz and copper floor. Obviously there's nothing here yet. I did go ahead and just put the floor on above us here. And then the only thing we have over here is the copper is coming in. It is 1,420 copper ore coming in from 2 pure nodes over there. I just split it up into 2 710 lines. So that is going to feed into the smelters over here, and then from those smelters, it'll feed a bunch of the constructors. Now, the quartz that's going to be coming in is 2,400 quartz. That is going to be coming in via, I think it's 6 train cars. So whatever 2,400 divided by 6 is, which I think is 600. It's 400. So it's going to be 6 lines of 400 coming in. We can kind of mix those together if we need to, or we can leave them split up. And those are going to be feeding into 64-ish constructors to pump out the quartz crystal we need for this. So most of this floor obviously is going to be taken up by the copper production, because we need the smelters. Then we need the wire constructors, which is 100 constructors for wire. Then I need about 50 constructors for cable. And then we're going to have the 64-ish constructors for the quartz crystal. A lot of constructors on this floor. So we should have room. Probably going to be using some stackables just like we were on the other floor. But the first thing that we have to do is we actually have to bring the quartz over here first. So, I think I just said first twice, but that's okay. We have a new train station over here. It's actually where this train station used to be. So this is the copper and coal that goes to our mega factory over there, which looks really cool in the distance actually. Now this train line over here is now set up for what's going to deliver the quartz from there to here, because I could have just belted it over, but I was like, you know what, I think it'll just be a little bit easier. It'll be a fast running train anyway, because the loop just goes from here, loops up to here, drops off the quartz, loops out the backside, and loops back in the other way. So the way I've actually set it up is it shouldn't really block too much train traffic coming through here, because it does complicate things going through this junction. But the way it's all set up, and I've actually got a tester train running through here right now, it actually hasn't caused me any issues. So I think we're pretty much good to go on the train system. So we can hop on over here to where the actual train stations are, and you will see down below, once I fall, there you can see another train station down there. That is going to be the push and pull system we're going to try and use. So hopefully it works. There's 2 pure nodes in there. Hello? Oh, Jesus. There's 2 pure nodes of quartz in there. There's also a normal node of quartz in there. I'm not going to worry about that one right now. I'm going to be pulling out the 2 pure ones. And then there's also a normal SAM node in there as well. So that's why I've actually made this train station have 8 cars. So these back 2 can be for the SAM and possibly the extra quartz. I might just send the quartz out the little one at the other side of the cave, if I even need to use it. But for now, we're going to pull everything to here, including the SAM, and that's going to get loaded up for, I don't know, something at some point. But the main thing today is bringing out that 2400 quartz per minute, which comes into some storages here, and then it just kind of belts over to that other train station I was talking about over there. And then that will take it on over to the factory. So our project is to get this quartz train going. Got the track kind of laid out, just going down here to make sure it would actually fit through here. And then so from here is where we're just going to kind of run it down. I'm going to grab my gun because I know there's spiders and stuff in here. And I may also need some explosives to take out some poison pillars. I'm not sure if they're in the way coming in through this side or not. Okay, so there are no poison pillars in between the quartz and the SAM that I need. It must only be if you're going out that backside there. So we're going to be putting miners on everybody in here. I'm not going to do I'm not going to hook up the SAM today, but I am going to hook these 2 up. So we're going to have to set up a platform here that has enough space for 8 train stations. There's a few spiders in here I'm going to have to kill. Oh, there are more spiders in here than I thought. Okay, they're all gone now though. So let's get a train line kind of coming down in here, and then I'll know roughly where to build the actually I guess I can put the platforms in first. So yeah, we just need enough space, which it looks like I should have enough. If I just kind of even start from about like right here-ish, and then just kind of drag it all the way down, and then we should have enough space to put in we need 1 train station and then 8 train cars. And voila, it's beautiful. So we got our train. I did need to go a little bit bigger on my platform than I thought I did, but it kind of worked out that the level that I built it at was also the perfect level to fit the miners right on top of the nodes. So we get our 2 pure copper, or our pure 2, what? The 2 pure quartz nodes over here. Those are set up, they're both set up to evenly split between each little station here. I don't actually have them hooked up yet though. We also have no power coming in here yet, so that's okay too. But I left the 2 open at the back. That can be for the SAM ore that is not hooked up to anything right now. But that should pretty much work for pulling all the quartz out of here. And then I threw some lights up as well. Like I said, we don't have power coming in here yet because I haven't actually hooked up the full train track yet. I need to kind of figure out a way to kind of maneuver a train through this little cave section here. But once we do, this will be fired up and ready to go. And I just have to connect all the actual belts going in here. And that should be good to go. It was pretty simple. I figured I could just kind of skip ahead and show you guys the neat little train station I made, and it's nothing fancy since I'm probably never going to come back in here again, so I just make sure it all works. And then we can move on to actually building more of the real factory. Alright, I've got power to use my hover pack, which means this train line is officially connected through the cave. So that's going to... Actually, here, let's go turn the train on over here and we'll take a little train ride, shall we? I may put some lights going through the cave here just for some more ambiance, but again, I probably won't ever come back through here too often. But this means, for now, we can hop into here. We can open the train menu, edit the timetable. We're going to send this one to Timmer's Dala, and then back to Quartz Cave, save changes, turn on self-driving. Let's go for a little ride. I hope this actually works pretty nicely, and with minimal clipping through cave walls or anything. Alright, so we passed through there nice and clean. Okay, looking good so far. Looks like I'm not going to slam into anything on the ground or on the ceiling. Man, that is cool. What a great way to start the episode off. That's great. The lights are on in here too. I think we can probably actually turn them up a little bit. They might more or less be only effective if you have like global illumination on. Now, let me try that because I'm assuming it's going to be real dark in this cave with global illumination on. Let's see what it looks like. Oh, so much better. Yeah, I figured it was going to be real dark in this cave. I actually still might turn the brightness of these lights up a little bit here because it's a little dark still. But man, this is a pretty cool looking spot right here. I like this. So basically it just loads up on the quartz here and then it's going to ship itself back on out the other side, I'm assuming. There we go. That's my first push-pull. I got the little stopper on the end, which is nice. A nice addition in 1.1, so this push-pull system actually makes a little bit more sense. Only one thing loaded on. Why? Okay, I'm gonna have to troubleshoot that, but we do have at least the one going so far. That's pretty cool. It works. Okay, so we can take our Quartz Cave train off the to-do list, and now we'll hop back over to the factory and we'll start working on some machines. Alright, back at the Mega Factory, and we're actually down on the train level right now, down in the old basement. Just wanted to show off a little cool decoration I did it in between the episodes. Haven't finished it yet because I haven't actually put this mark in the signs yet, but this is basically just the exit to go to the outside part. And then you can come back in here, and basically these blockers are just to show that, you know, you don't really want to bring a vehicle in here because this is mainly just an area for walking. You could bring like a little tractor in here or something, or a little factory cart if you need to get around. But essentially I've got this set up now for the unloading area down here. So this will be the aluminum ingots unloading. We'll put some storage bins there. This is where my oil storage is going to be. So this is going to be all the liquid storages. Then we'll have our Caterium ore unloading here, our raw quartz unloading here, and then the 1125 petroleum coke that we're making in the factory that I haven't planned out what to do with yet. That's just going to funnel down here into this little sink area. And then that kind of fills this whole, most of this area in. I've got a little bit extra space if I need it. But for now, we are going to get the quartz unloading area set up. Since we already have the copper coming in, this is basically our mission for today, is I need 6 storage bins here set up to do an unloading. So I think I can kind of set them like, how was I think I was doing it as 2 groups of 3. Instead of just one big long line of 6. So we're gonna go, I think it was right here. Yeah, so we're gonna go 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, they're definitely supposed to be closer together. That's supposed to go right here. And then we leave the space in the back. Oops, running out of power here. You and you. So that's going to be our unloading section for the quartz that's going to come in. So basically I'm going to take all the outputs. Oh, right. I forgot about this part. This is where I'm going to have to use some programmable splitters for the first time in our playthrough. Because in this train station, we will have Caterium ore and quartz coming in at the same, at least the first 3 will have it coming in. But with some programmable splitters and using both outputs to pull things out as fast as possible, I think we should be able to unload from these stations without any clogging up issues. Worst case scenario, I think what I would probably do is I would shift the Caterium to maybe be dropped off maybe on this station, since we have 3 open slots back here. I mean, this is going to be used for the aluminum right now. But worst case scenario, like if I'm just trying to pull too many things through this one station, I can kind of split it up into this one. Alright, sorry to jump ahead on you guys, but well, it turns out I'm not smart enough to do this and talk about it at the same time. So I was like, let me take a few minutes And by a few minutes, it was more like half an hour to an hour to figure this out. So I now have the programmable splitters set up to where some of it takes Caterium and some of it takes Quartz out of these first three. So hopefully this works out in terms of like balancing them out. And then the back ones here, these ones actually, apparently I had hooked up my push-pull train wrong. So these were actually getting no Quartz, that's why these are empty right now. But I did go ahead and fix that through the night, and that should be running properly now. And then, so everything kind of just comes up along the ceiling here, which looks kind of cool, as you can see everything flying across the ceiling there. And then we come to the back side here, we have our 3 storage containers for unloading all of our Caterium ore. That's just going into an awesome sink for now. We've got our Quartz loading into this area, which is also just going into sinks for now. So everything just kind of comes up along the ceiling, gets unloaded from those train stations over there. This is basically the buffer system before they'll get fed into the rest of the factory. Because obviously we don't just need like plain ore. So this one's just going to keep going into the sink for now because the Caterium is going to get used in probably episode 5 of this build, I believe. So that should at least clean things up a little bit, and hopefully things are moving. I'm just going to keep an eye on this separate, these 2 Quartz lines that I had messed up before. I want to make sure those are coming in. But as far as I know, since these can handle 1200 per minute, this will take the Caterium ore no problem. And since I've split this up into 2 lines of 1200, that should be able to handle that no problem as well. So that should be the Quartz cave train and everything done off our to-do list. All the inputs of everything that we're going to need for this episode, all the Quartz and copper are now coming in. This took me quite a while because I messed up a couple times, but I think now we can finally jump up to the upper floor and start putting in our smelters and our constructors. You can see I put Quartz constructors before copper smelters. I'm going to do the copper smelters first, just so I can kind of get a better idea of where everything else is going to go, and then we'll do the Quartz constructors. Copper smelters, let's go. We can do this. Alright, where did the copper come in? Wait, am I on the wrong floor? Where's the copper? Oh, there it is. It's just blended in with the trees. Okay, so I need, it says 47.34 copper smelters. So I'm just going to do 50 to make it a little bit easier. And that way I can do 2 rows of 25. I mean, I guess I could even do 2 rows of 24 and then downclock it accordingly, but 25 just seems easier. Especially when you have your smelters in groups of 5, so it's basically already ready to go. So if I go to our foundry section, we go to copper. 5 copper ore smelters. They don't need to be stackable because I'm just going to do 2 rows in front of each other. So I'm going to make sure they're obviously going that way. It makes the most sense to me. So I'll put the back line in first. Give ourselves a little bit extra room. I think we got some room to work with here. So that's 1 on this side and 2 on the back. Let me give 2 on the side here. Just like that. I think that'll kind of work out. And then I'll be able to fit in the 2 rows of 25 going down. So we'll go... That's why I also figured I could do 25 since we got groups of 5 anyway. So we'll go 1, 2, 3. Come on, a little faster. 4. Hello? 4. And 5. I'm going to be taking out they were just going to help me measure things out anyway. I decided to kind of take them out for the most part. And I'm just going to end up turning it all into asphalt and then have the one little square in the center. And then for walking around in this area, maybe I'll put in some like walkways and stuff like that just to make it a little bit easier. But there is our first row of 25. So now let's get our second row of 25 in here. Alright, 50 copper smelters down, 50 copper smelters almost hooked up. I'll have to actually connect all the lines going down here. And actually, these would be lines of 710, so technically these can all just be Mark 5 conveyor belts going through here. I don't have to use Mark 6s. We'll get those all hooked up, we'll get these hooked up to power, and then we'll stick 2 awesome sinks off the end, because we need to move, what is it, 1,400, yeah, it's going to be 1,420 ingots coming out of here. So I'm going to need 2 sinks coming off, like 1 for each one, and then that'll allow the copper to start getting worked and backed up before we actually set up our 100 constructors for wire. Alright, belts are all connected. A couple awesome sinks sitting here off the end. And we are officially done with the copper smelters of the build. That is all 50 put in. Now I just have to downclock these real quick because like I said, I need 1,420. And I believe these are probably putting out currently 1,500. They are correct. So 50 times 30 is 1,500. So that means I need to take off 80. So that means we'll take off 20 from here. We'll take 20 from here. That'll be 40. And then 20 from you and 20 from you. That'll be the 80. And that'll be nice and evenly split still. So yeah, I'm going to do this a little bit out of order. I'll end up doing the quartz constructors at the very end, I think. So the next one I'll actually do is I'll do the 100 constructors for wire. So I'll do 5 rows of 20. We'll just do stacks, 10 stacks on top of each other. Let's go to our constructor section. I think we actually have a stackable wire one set up already. I do. Okay, I knew I had one set up somewhere. So we're going to do 5 groups of these going down along the bottom here, and then we'll do another 5 up on top of that. And then we should have enough room going down that side for the 50 for cables, and then the other 60 for the quartz crystal can go over there. Yeah, we definitely have enough room. Okay, so now we've got this kind of position more or less where we're going to put them. We can now stack 5 of these next to each other and make sure they're all facing that direction. That's 1, 2. It's a little laggy when I try and put them down a lot of these at once. There's 3, 4, and 5. Yeah, definitely glad I'm using the stackable one here. Now I just need to throw basically another 50 of those on top, and then that'll be able to connect. So I think basically what we'll do is we'll send one of these lines for the bottom section, and we'll just make it a big long manifold, and then the other one we'll just send for the top section as one long manifold, and we should be fine. And then it's got how much wires coming out? 2,840. Okay, so that's going to be 840 divided by 2 would be 1420. Okay, so then we'll need 2 outputs for each group. So basically it'll be split into, I'll have to find out where the split is somewhere. And I mean, okay, that won't be too hard to mix it all together, but it definitely means there's going to be 4 output belts coming out that we'll have to send across to the cable constructors over here. Okay, so now that we've got all 100 constructors here, we'll worry about the underclocking in a little bit. Let's worry about actually getting our the line brought up here that we need. So the one line of copper is going to come up here to the top. So I'm going to put a lift in. I guess I could put it off to the side, and then it would just lift up to here. That would probably make more sense. And then we'll put a splitter in right here, connecting into you. You in a weird spot? Yeah, that's okay. So we're going to put those all the way down, and that's going to make the manifold system for here. Obviously, it's going to take a little bit of a time for it to get backed up, but that's why I'm kind of preloading everything already anyway, so that as we're building this, it'll just kind of back up as we go along. So there's some splitters in here with the line going all the way along on top, and then same with the bottom, and then we can bring our copper over. There we go. That's pretty easy. So we got one going up top, one going along the bottom. And then keeping with the theme from down below, we go up 3 to bring it across so we can easily pass underneath. So now let's take out these awesome sinks. In fact, let's actually not hook these up for a minute just to intentionally make the copper smelters back up a little bit. So that way they'll kind of be a little bit preloaded to help load this system up just a little bit faster once we actually get this hooked up. So actually I just need to get this all hooked up to power. And then from there, we can actually worry about turning these all on. These are all set to copper wire already. And I need 2,840 to be coming out in 4 equal lines. So that means I'm going to have to downclock these. I believe I'm probably currently doing 3,000 or more. Yeah, I'm doing 3,000 per minute. So I need to lose 160. So that means 60 divided, whoop. So each group of 4 like output lines that I'm going to be doing needs to lose 40 from each one. So that way it'll all remain nice and evenly split. Okay, so now that we have these all hooked up to power, so now we'll go ahead and we'll actually start figuring out how we're going to send the 2,840 over. So we currently have 10 outputs. We're going to turn that right now into 5. And then I'm going to turn that 5 into 4. So I think what I could do is I could find where the 5th one is. So it'd be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, the 3rd one, which would be right here. These could be split. So like this one would split to join this one and this one. And this one would split to join this one and this one. Or you could do I have a 5 into 4 balancer? No, I have a 4 into 5 balancer, not a 5 into 4, but because I'm pretty sure to make 5 into 4 would just be the way that I just explained it. So yeah, I think what we'll do is we'll take the 3rd one right in the middle here, and just to make it even easier, yeah, I'll take the one on the top here, that can mix with these two, and then the bottom one can mix with these two, and then that'll be the 4 belts going over. I'm glad I left myself a little bit of room here along the back side, because this will give me the room I need to kind of bring all the belts together and do any sort of like balancing I need to do in behind. And then we can send those on up into, I think I'm going to do 4 groups of 12 constructors here. I think that would probably make the most sense, since we're going to have 4 lines coming over anyway. And then, because I need 48 constructors for cables, and then one of those, like a few, basically, I don't know how many, a very small amount of them are going to send 300 cables somewhere, and then the rest is 1,120. That's going to go somewhere else. Alright, we've got all our copper wires. Everybody's hooked up. Everybody is good to go. They're still slightly balancing themselves out here towards the end. That's the problem with having the giant manifold line. But by the time I get everything else hooked up, this should be balanced out, because this is the last group, sorry, the last 2 groups in the line to actually get the copper that they're going to need. Basically, this section right here is just the last part of the manifold, but it should be ready to go because all the copper is, there's no backups or anything over there. So we can go ahead and take our wire constructors off of our to-do list. That is all 100 done. And now we can jump on into doing our our cable constructors. I really should have moved quartz to the very bottom. Cable constructors are going to go right here. We're going to do 4 groups of 12, I think is what I was saying. So we'll probably do like 1, 2, 3, 4. Hopefully that'll fit. And then I should be able to do the 2 groups of 30. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And that'll be the 60 that I need for the quartz crystal. It was technically 64, but I'm going to overclock them a little bit just to make it a much cleaner number. So let's go ahead and we'll grab our cable constructors here really quick. Turns out I have no cable, so I'm just going to use my 10 constructor manifold for copper wire, and then I'll just change the recipe over. So let me find a good place to kind of put these down. Actually, I suppose, I mean, if I really could have done it, I would have put them this way, but I won't be able to fit them all in. So we're going to go, actually, could I go stack them like this way? No, I think that'd be 2 on top of each other, and then we'd kind of have a waste of space going this way. So let's go ahead and we'll put them down more or less right in the middle-ish here. Just kind of line them up with one of the corners. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 in the front. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 in the back. Perfect, that's just right in the middle. Okay, so we'll go 1. Actually, we'll shift that over. I shifted it over 1. I shifted over 1 just like that. And then I'll put 4 of those down. Alright, that actually worked out pretty well. So we got our 4 groups of 10. And then I'm just going to add, so they need to be groups of 12. So we're just going to add the 2 onto the ends here. Just like that. We'll just add the little bits here. Oops. Sorry, it's actually going the other way. So we're just basically going to do that all the way along. Turn these into 4 groups of 12, making me 48 constructors, and then we'll figure out what our clocking is going to be from there. So if these are all set to do cable, that means they do 30, so that means I just need 10 of these to go to one section. So probably what I'll end up doing then is maybe I'll do it like this, is I will take this one on this end, right here, and I'll actually face it going back this way. Actually, it may have to... No, it's probably fine. I was going to say it may have to face in because there's going to be belts coming this way, but this should be okay. So then that one will be by itself. I'll just stick a lift here for now. And that will be... Or that will connect in with the rest of these, hopefully. It might be a little bit of a mess. And then this group of 300, I'll mark them out just color-wise. There we go. So that'll be for whatever those go to. I honestly can't remember at this point, but that means these will be connected with the rest of these, and that'll be 1,120 cable per minute. So actually, that should be pretty easy. We'll just put an extra lift here on the back side of this one. There we go. Put a couple lifts in, and that should be out of the way, so we can still get the stuff going down through here, because obviously we still need a splitter and everything going into all through here. And then that should be good to go. Oh, wait. Sorry, we actually... Hang on, let me move this first. I was going to say, I actually have to make all of these groups of 12 first. Let's put down the rest of the machines first before I get a little too excited. Because I also just realized that's technically on the wrong one. I'll have to put another one here. Face it that way. And then the lift can go onto this one. I'll just face them out. Okay, there we go. So that merger will now mix together with these ones. And then I'll just kind of merge all of these together at some point. That way, now that it's lifted up, I actually have the space still to go underneath and feed all my splitter lines. So I just have to make all these groups of 12. And then we can start hooking them up to power. And then I think these are just going to get thrown into awesome sinks for now until the next episode. Because the next episode we're doing the Crystal Oscillator manufacturers. And that is where the 1,120 cable is going. So we'll just kind of throw everything into a sink for now. And that should be all of our cable constructors finished. Alright, we got our belts hooked up. Everything's going to be fed properly. Everything is merged, so we got our one back line here that's going to feed into the rest of it to make our 1,120. And then we're going to have our 300 in this little section right here. It's going in, it's all going into the awesome sink together right now. Actually, technically that would be more than 1,200, so I suppose this one actually needs its own awesome sink, even though it's only 300. But that way, everything will run properly and nice and smoothly. So we've got those all grouped up together. Got a nice split section back in the behind, with going up to 3 stacks the way I've been doing it all along. And I think now we are ready to unleash the power of the copper wire into the rest of the section here. Let's go ahead and start feeding these across. I was just letting the copper wire get itself backed up a little bit, just like we were with the ingots. But this can be ready to go a little faster. But hopefully we're more or less preloading the system a little bit. So there we go, we got those all coming through now. Everybody's set to wire. I don't know why you're not taking in... Oh, because you're set to wire. Oops. I accidentally sent these ones to wire and not actually to cable. I forgot everybody was set to copper wire. That's why nobody was moving. Oh, there we go. I'm just spamming copy and paste everybody onto everybody now. If you want a fast way of doing this, I literally just hold down control while I'm hovering above everything. I'm just spamming V on top of it, so sometimes I miss one or two here and there, but like this one. Did I miss all of these? Oh no, they're just waiting on the materials. Okay, so that is now our cable constructors all finished off the to-do list. I thought that was going to be a little bit more complicated, but it actually turned out pretty easy. And then now to finish off the episode, we can do these beautiful quartz constructors. So it looks like we've got just enough space here for what I wanted to do. So we're going to grab our constructor blueprint here. I actually went ahead and made one because I didn't have any for constructors. So we've got our stackable one here. So we're going to put 2 of these down next to each other. I'm going to make it face... I want things coming towards me here. And then we'll give it at least 3 back. So 1, 2, 3. We'll line it up there. Actually, we'll shift it back one more. Give it 4. Give it 4. There we go. 2 stackable blueprints in front of me. That's our first 20. Now, this one I actually ended up changing too. So I saw a video someone posted in the Discord that showed a really clean way of setting up the power lines. So say hello to my new power line connections because, oh boy, that's just clean and real good looking. It's actually pretty easy if you want to do it yourself, so I'll show you quickly how to do it before I move on. You just want to grab some painted beams and run them up about, where's it, right there? Yeah, we're right there. And then you're going to want to run it, oh, I had to go one up higher actually. And then you just run it across, and this will connect through the power connection of the constructor. And then you're just going to connect the wall outlet onto that beam, connect them all up, and then you can delete the beam, and it just looks nice and clean. It looks like basically you can connect the machines like one to the other, but I mean, you actually can't, but I mean, that looks really cool, and I'm definitely going to be doing that a lot going forward. Okay, so that is our first 20 down. So now let's grab another one here. So I think here, in terms of the quartz we're pumping out, I do need to split at the end. I do need to split them into two different lines. So I think what we'll do is we'll have it all more or less feeding towards each other, or towards me, I mean. I'll set this to blueprint so that they're going to connect to each other nicely. And then third one on top, I will not do stackable. I'll do my non-stacking, which is this one. Make sure everyone's coming in the right direction. There we go. Those are all of my quartz constructors. Like I said, I will have to do some downclocking to actually make it work properly, but should be able to get this all hooked up properly. So basically we're going to have two lines of 1200 coming up, or actually what I have it set at, I have it dropped down into, it's 2400 divided by 6, right? Oops, not times 6. Okay, so each line, so we'd have each line to be 400. So how many inputs would that? That would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I currently have 12 inputs. Okay, so each set of 10 is basically going to get fed by a line from downstairs. That should be pretty straightforward, actually. So that means I'm not going to connect the splitters together, but I am going to connect the mergers together on the back side. So what we're going to do is we're going to make use of the 1.1 items. I'm just going to add in my little extra floor that I'm going to need, just so you guys can actually see everything. Okay, so here are the mergers, right? So we're going to grab floor hole. Okay, well, it was supposed to be a cool 1.1 thing, and also it turns out I was doing it on the back where I wasn't supposed to do it. I was supposed to do it on the front here. I was trying to do it where I would have a lift going straight down and then just a vertical, like using the vertical merger to grab the one in the middle. But first time, it must be the way I designed my blueprint, but I couldn't actually get the vertical merger to actually line up perfectly with a lift. It was always on a weird angle. So I just decided to do it the old way if you didn't have vertical splitters and mergers. A little bit unfortunate because I thought it was going to look really cool, but I mean, it still works out really well. So now I just have to do this to this side as well, and then we'll have two belts coming out of here that are going to do, I think it's 720 each. That should be perfect because it's 1440. And all of that quartz crystal is going to go to the floor above us, which is going to have a whole bunch of manufacturers on it. Alright, well, at least I got to use them on the back here. So we got the vertical splitters in here because we're going to have one line of 1200 feeding into this splitter, one line of 1200 quartz feeding into this splitter, and it's going to feed the bottom floors, then the middle floor, then the top floor. So it'll take a little bit to get backed up because it is a manifold system, but hey, at least I got to use the vertical nudgers and splitters on this one because I think they're pretty cool, and I like to try and use the new stuff when I can. Otherwise, I mean, it's like, what have I been waiting for this whole time, right? So now let's just get the quartz from downstairs. We'll merge those. I think there's the 6. We'll merge them into 2 lines to bring them up here. Should have enough room to bring them up through here. Excellent. And then we can fire this on and we can call that an episode. Awesome. Okay, so now that I've got everything hooked up and running, I think it is finally time that we can fire on these quartz constructors. So it seems like I've balanced everything out the way I needed it to. Using I actually really like having the conveyor throughput monitors, because it really helps me be able to see this. I was actually getting 6 more. These seem to vary ever so slightly every now and then from 709 to 710. I haven't seen 716 yet. That was interesting. But these definitely help me keep track of the builds that I'm doing when I have to send specific numbers into certain areas. So like here, for example, all these lines need to be 710 consistently, so I've got those marked out. And then if you come on over to the actual cable side on the very end, I've got a marker here on the back side that should say 1120. Perfect. And then so I'm basically just kind of doing that all the way along. I even do it over there on the output of the smelters. And it just helps me, you know, have confidence that my machines are running the way they are, and I've actually clocked things the way they should be. So these should both be 710 as well. Excellent, good to see. And then that should all be good to go. So I think now we can go ahead and turn on these Quartz constructors base. I've got everything all hooked up to power. Everything's going to feed into an awesome sync for now, just like we're doing with the cable. And then we're going to send these up into doing some other things in the next episode, where we actually put down our manufacturers for all the crystal oscillators. And then we're also going to be doing the oil. So let's come down here. I've gone ahead and I've set up the belt. They were sort of hooked up for a second, but then I disconnected them. So I think, where do I need to connect them into the... Okay, so I just have to put the lifts on here, and that's going to bring a bunch of quartz in. And then I also think I have to reconnect them down here at the bottom. Now, I think the train system that I've set up, it took me a little while to make sure everything was balanced out, because it was bringing in too much at a time from the Caterium and the quartz, because I'd let everything get too backed up, which kind of messed with the whole system. But as far as I can tell, let me just double check the train stations here again really quick, that we're getting close to moving the amount of items I need per minute. So it's saying 919 right now. Basically, these front 3 stations should be moving 800, and then these back ones should be moving only 400. So they're getting pretty close as well. We'll just have to keep an eye on those as they're filling up. That's bringing some more quartz in right now. So we're going to bring the quartz in from here. I just disconnected them and hooked them up to the awesome sinks for a minute. Basically, I need to hook a lift back up to that line right there, and then we'll hook a lift back up to that line right there, and then we can go connect them up top. And then we should be good to go. So let me just go ahead and delete this really quick. Oh, I don't know why I lagged so much there. And then we'll grab our lifts. And this should just snap onto the belt there. Okay, so that should have snapped onto the belt. Obviously, they're not going to move, though, because their belts were already full of stuff. So now we're going to come up to the quartz floor, and we're actually going to put the lifts on the top section here. And the hover pack's a little slow sometimes. You gotta cross like 50-meter floors. Okay, so we come to this back side here. Our lifts in there. Oops. And there. And that should start feeding all the quartz into the system here. Awesome. Okay, so now we're just gonna keep an eye on this for a second to make sure things are flowing in properly. So because I have the number calculated out on, or I did have it on the output down here, I'm actually going to set one up, throughput monitor on both these belts here. Oh, I guess I wouldn't actually be able to monitor that correctly because it's going to split from here. So I should have actually put these a little bit further back, and then I could have put a throughput monitor. But I think if I just put one in on each belt down below, then that should still work out just fine. Alright, I ended up just putting them up on the ceiling here because I've kind of just been lifting everything up. So, I mean, they're a little bit out of the way for you to see them, but I just want to be able to check in on them every now and then just to make sure the numbers are moving correctly. So it's calibrating, but it looks like we're moving exactly 1200 per minute right now. So as long as that stays consistent, and I want us to make sure it either A, doesn't get backed up, or B, we don't run out of quartz, which would be terrible. So hopefully that will work itself out, and we can go on to check the constructors upstairs, and then we can call it an episode for today. And then we'll come back again for the next one, put in 80 manufacturers for crystal oscillators, and then a whole bunch of refineries for the oil production as well. We're gonna make plastic, we're gonna make rubber, and we gotta make the petroleum coke. Alright, well that's gonna take a little while to balance itself out, but it seems like everyone is properly connected and everyone is flowing Sometimes I forget to connect a belt here or there and just an entire line gets backed up or someone doesn't get fed at all. But it seems like I actually connected everybody up this time, so I think we're good to go. And that, like I said, that'll take a little bit to balance out because it's just got to pull 2,400 quartz per minute from downstairs. It's got to pull it all the way up here. So I think that should, I mean, it'll probably be done by the time we're working our way through the next floor because we do need this quartz for the next floor. It's a pretty key component of the crystal, or the crystal oscillators, hence the name. So let's go ahead and end the episode here. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me for another one. We'll go ahead and let this balance out. We'll come back for the next one on the floor above, doing some crystal oscillators, and then the floor above that, actually, I guess, yeah, we're going to do 2 floors in one episode. We'll do the crystal oscillator manufacturers and then all our oil production. And then we're getting pretty close to more of the end stuff at this point. Once we get those crystal oscillators done and all the oil production, then we can start putting down a good handful of assemblers, a couple more manufacturers, and then that'll be it for the build.